Miss Lay with me. Say hey to
What's
the
going
people.
on, y'all?
You
Like,
probably wonder where our third link is. Is he out in the streets?
he is out in the
He
streets.
is
So,
out in the streets.
interesting story.
I want to know.
So, interesting story. And I have a couple of these stories myself, to be honest. Um,
Oh,
Caleb's best friend is in town,
got it.
but they have technically never met in person before.
Okay, wait. Y'all, I wasn't prepared for this. Okay, hit me.
Because they became friends online. And if you had asked me maybe like 5 years ago, I would have been like, "That's crazy." I was
I've had one of those.
just
Not a bestie,
strongly,
but yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
I was one of those people who was strongly opposed to like meeting up with people you meet on the internet
Got it.
in person. That
Hmm.
just I don't know. That just reads dangerous or
Especially in today's society. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But especially during the pandemic, I actually cultivated a lot of friendships online. I know Amanda has. She's like an online networking expert because she's met so many people online and
That she.
yeah.
She's the queen.
So yeah, I've met a lot of people online myself and like people who are actually like I'm really good friends with. I met them in person. One person I actually drove all the way up to Montana to meet them in person and
As in
stay at their
Montana?
house.
As in
Yeah,
Montana?
Montana, the state, and stay
Wow.
at their house and
Hmm.
met her husband and her kid and the whole nine. It was crazy, and we were both having that experience of like, oh my God, what am I doing? I hope I'm not like about to meet a crazy person. So yeah, so Caleb and his best friend, they have been friends for years, but have never. They're both from. I think they're both from the same state and
Got it.
everything, but they've never met in person until now. So that's kind of crazy.
Two snaps for Caleb and his bestie.
My brother is having a similar experience. He's about to meet friends he's been friends with since high school in person for the first time.
It's so ironic when I think about that. It takes me back. I'm probably telling all my business,
Oh
but
Lord.
it takes me back to online dating before it was like
Like
a
before it
thing.
was a thing, before it
This
was
is
the
when
thing.
I don't know if y'all remember. Y'all probably too young when Black Planet was out. Remember that?
Oh Lord.
Black Planet and all
Yeah,
these
you
other
showing your
spots.
age.
And I am, right? And I remember meeting somebody on there. But back then it was like the norm, whereas now it's like, you know, few little DMs, everybody is linking up. But
Yeah.
shout out to him, shout out to the bestie. Um, Today's episode, what we're going to process is y'all know we talk about things that are consistent with mind control, right? And there is so much happening in our society right now, isn't there?
Man, oh man.
Um,
Tell me about
so
it.
what we're actually trying to do is looking at it from a perspective. We're not here to go politics, right? We're not here to go political,
Oh
but
Lord.
we know that there has been a transition in power, right?
That literally just happened.
It. I was at an event speaking yesterday, and I get a text from my cousin. Shout out to you. Talk to Rose. She texted and said the current president is stepping down.
Mm.
He won't be going for reelection. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, so that means there's potential for our VP to step up.
Right.
Um, there has been a lot of stress over the last few weeks about this potential candidate, this candidate, and we know every 4 years that this time of the year brings a lot of stress on families, stress on the mind.
So to be like, so to have like a moment of transparency,
Yeah, please.
how do you think the current political climate has affected you mentally lately?
If I can be quite frank with you guys, being a clinician, um, you try your best to stay intact, right, with what's
Mm-hmm.
going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna tell y'all straight up, it has been a little overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
because every day it's something.
Something. Yeah.
Every day. And we also have been to the point to where there has been so many transitions. At one point, folks is getting shot at or shot, whatever you want to call it, and then we're looking at it from a perspective of a woman potentially being in power and in leadership
For the
um,
first time ever.
for the first time ever, right? So with tonight's episode, we wanted to process how is this affecting the mind? Because remember during the pandemic, people who were blinked and people who weren't blinked,
Mm.
it was tearing away
It
families.
became very political
It
very
became
quickly.
very political.
But very similar if you think back to 2016. the nominees were very controversial. That was
Similarities, yeah.
yeah, that
Mhm.
was Donald Trump's first run,
Yeah,
and that also was like that affected people. You know, just based on who you're
right,
voting for. It's like,
right,
oh, I don't mess with you no more. I'm not.
right.
We not
So,
cool. We not friends. Like
right.
it became a whole thing.
So when you're thinking about it now to our audience is this is not who y'all voting for. This is not, hey, you should vote this way, you should vote this way. It's just taking a moment just to check on your mind.
Yeah, like how
Because
is it affecting us
right.
mentally? You know.
Every day it's something, whether you see it, whether you hear it, but because we're all on social media every day, whether you want to see it or not, it's going to be in your feed.
Yeah.
Something about these individuals is going to be in your feed.
I was hearing about it on the radio.
They still have that?
I
Oh
was
gosh.
hearing about it on the radio. It
Mm-hmm.
literally this morning I was hearing how you know they just give you the highlights of like
Right.
what's current,
Right.
and of course they were talking about how Kamala had a record breaking fundraising night,
I heard about
raising the
that.
funds for her
Can
campaign.
y'all send some of them funds to Self Care Lab? Because I'm like, how do you just get 21 mil? Like it's
And I saw another post that said there was a Zoom with like 40,000 black women, like over 40,000 black women, and the Zoom alone they fundraised 1.5 million for her campaign.
so black women. If y'all look for something else to fund,
Right.
we can utilize the funding. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is how do you feel identifying as a black woman, right?
Mhm.
And being able to see a potential woman of color being in power. How do you feel?
I based on what I've seen so far, like I
Yeah.
said, it was very shocking to get online and see that, you know, going from Biden leaving, you know,
Mm-hmm,
basically stepping down
mm-hmm.
and then endorsing Kamala, which I figured was a pretty. I felt like that was a pretty obvious move.
Yeah.
you know, I anticipated that happening, and then I didn't even have to wait that long before the announcement was made.
Right.
So I immediately am optimistic just based on what I've seen in these last, you know, 24, 48 hours.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
However, comma, you know, I think back to, of course, Obama's election and the scrutiny and the ridicule that his family had to endure. So it just feels like, okay, you know, mentally, I feel like I have to prepare for like another round of that. You know what I mean? And just
And it's just unfortunate because a lot of it has to do with race.
yes, it
But
is.
that's
It's a
one
very
thing.
racially charged. Once you know, once a
And
potential
gender.
black anything
Mm-hmm.
gets thrown into the mix, you know, racially charged, and it's very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Shout out to the people that are watching us. Shout out to Naya the Libra. That's my niece. Shout out to her. She's about to start college next month.
Oh, nice. Hey,
Yes.
okay. So this is why. Okay, how
81 million. Thank you. Talk to Rose.
now 90 million. Okay, yes.
I need to. I'm talking about 20. Let me put some respect on this woman's name.
We appreciate y'all tuning in.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The other thing that you want to look at it as that's really all you see on television right now. Television, on
Right.
social media.
I don't, you know, I don't watch a lot of
Me either.
television
Me either.
lately. Anything that I go to streaming platforms, and anything that I
Yeah.
go to watch is a very specific thing
Right.
and a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the things that I digest, I read a lot of books, audiobooks, podcasts, and then of course social media. So all over every other post on my feed is, you know, Kamala's face. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I have to consider too that like my algorithm may look one way
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, my algorithm is my algorithm, but there are other people's, you know, feeds that are looking completely different from
Mm-hmm.
mine, and they're seeing exactly probably the opposite of what I would want to see on my
Mm-hmm.
feed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just I feel like when we're scrolling our feed, we kind of get in our own universe, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, because these people feel that way, that must be how everybody feels, but it's really not.
I remember having a conversation with my cousin, talk to Rose, shout out to her. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe to her show. And we were talking about just the transitions that we're looking at. But we were also talking about how people are trying to utilize her education and the choices that she made as far as being a prosecutor, right, and using that against her.
Yeah.
But no one is really looking at it from a perspective of this is an educated black woman,
Right.
or woman of color, should I
Right.
say.
Right.
So for me, I'm looking at it like, yes, y'all make the time to vote whoever feels comfortable and conducive to your next journey, especially for our young people who are watching this. You want to vote for people who are going to make impact, but you also want to give your brain and your mind some grace and some rest. You just don't want, hey Charlie, you just don't want to be so consumed with all of this stuff, because that's what's going to drive us crazy.
Right.
I am looking forward to see what November has to offer. I am a little bit nervous.
I'm nervous. I'm
tell me
nervous
why.
slash optimistic.
I'm optimistic too. Yeah.
Well, the alternative.
Uh-huh.
I'm nervous because the alternative is a very scary thought. Our democracy is quite literally at stake. So yeah, that's a little terrifying. And I'm in a space in my life currently where I'm, contemplating the future a lot and what my next moves are going to be,
Right.
To get myself, down the path that I intend to go down. But it's like, on the other hand, I'm like, it kind of just makes my future planning a little stagnant, because I'm just like, we could wake up and just not have a democracy anymore, and I don't know what my life looks like
And even if
without a democracy.
and even down to the democracy, y'all remember the other day what happened to the world with Windows? What happened?
With who?
Windows, the
Oh,
computers.
how like they had
Everything
that
just
cyber glitch
that
or whatever.
part.
Yeah.
I think about all of that, and I'm like, there has been so many different transitions, ladies and gentlemen, them and they, that have happened in 1 week. So if you don't make this time for your brain to reset, you're going to go into overload. And what happens when you keep revving up the engine? What's going to eventually happen to your motor? It's going to explode, right? So giving yourself grace by, you may just want to tune into this, but you may want to log out of a social media presence just to give your mind a break.
Yeah, what are we? Yeah, everything did stop. Shout out to Naya the Libra. Shout out to Libra Gang.
Oh, here we go. gang, right?
Gang. Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you are doing to protect your peace, protect your mind, when it does get to be overwhelmed? Because it is overwhelming.
It is.
This year has been a very historic year, a very infamous
and it's only
year.
July.
And it's only July. We're only halfway through the year.
But when you think about it, it went so fast. Some of the things that I'm doing to our viewers is I am learning how to disconnect. Sometimes being women in leadership, women in business, entrepreneurship, sometimes you have to keep up with the trends. And y'all know this is the trendsetter right here. She is the reason why our social medias be popping that way. Project 2025 is enough.
Project 2025 is enough to make me vote for anyone running Democrat if Trump wins. We are in a world of trouble. Absolutely.
I totally agree with you. One of the things that's a little scary is who came up with this? Like, who sat at home or in their office and was like, I am going to write a new declaration to say this is how the world is going to go?
I feel like this is something that has been in the works.
I agree.
For a long time. I feel like this is they didn't just wake up and have a whole manual for a dictatorship. They have been putting things into motion and making plans. I mean, we saw it, with the Supreme Court and the actions that were taken in the Supreme Court. It's just there's obviously being like backdoor deals made and things that are being said and done to give this Project 2025 its fairest chance. I mean, we're not scared for no reason. So
the other part that makes me, if I have to take a twist, the other part of me is kind of having undertones of excitement, because this is the first time really in history since the Obama era that we've had a potential candidate that there is a sense of identification, right? We can almost identify with. I'm also looking at it. This is a very educated, powerful woman, and no shade to any other gender. But this to me gets me excited as a woman because she's a badass. You know what I'm saying? She's a badass and she's coming in very unapologetically.
Yes. I love how she just kind of, just without hesitation, took up the arms. I felt like she would be the logical choice. Once I heard that Biden had decided not to continue running for the presidency.
This was real and live. Y'all know.
What
Yourself
happened?
in.
What,
This is real and live. Plug yourself in.
what
I'm
happened?
also thinking about it from a perspective of
What's going
this
on?
also think about it, this could also inspire young women to go to college because she
Right.
promotes who? The AKAs, right?
Yeah, she's
Shout out to the AKAs out there.
She is a sorority.
She is a
sister.
sorority sister.
She went to a HBCU.
Shout out to her. Yeah.
Yeah. So just a lot of first woman, first African American woman, a lot of firsts.
Right.
When it comes to Kamala, so I am, like I said, the amount of money that she was able to raise in such a short amount of time alone has me very optimistic. The amount of Democratic support rallying behind her, a lot of people who probably would have been, people primed to go against her are actually endorsing her. So that's.
But doesn't that give you the sense of like intimidation? Right. Where you could just step into a room and really not have to say or do anything, but you have that much pull to have people trembling in their boots just because of who you are. That says a lot about the power of the mind.
Yes.
That somebody can just walk into a room and make you nervous about yourself, about your choices, about any. And she hasn't really done anything or said anything.
No, not really. She's very confident, which makes me confident. We have a lot of work to do if if
I agree,
it'll turn out in the way that we want it to. So everybody, grab your sister, cousin, uncle.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about just voting and the history of like our people with voting. We have a very checkered past where voting is concerned because we weren't always allowed to vote, and I feel like a lot of people don't really see the value in it. Which is unfortunate because there is a lot of, there is quite a lot of power in having, your voice heard through the polls, especially if we unify and come together and get on one accord. I have been fortunate to bear witness to a number of historic presidencies from the start of my eligible voting age. When I was 18, the first president I got to vote for was Barack Obama. So
wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like last week.
No.
Oh man.
It was
I thought you were gonna say like Clinton. I'm like, what?
It was in 2008. Okay.
Wow.
I was 8. Yeah, I was 18, and Obama was the first president that I ever got to vote for. So yeah, I've witnessed.
So this could also inspire the next generation.
Yeah,
It doesn't really matter who you vote for. It's just getting yourself out there to let your voice be heard. So this applies to you too, Naya the Libra.
Imagine the black woman, turning 18 this year, and they get to say they voted for Kamala, the first African American woman president.
Now here's my spin on this. Here's where, to me, where the pressure is going to be on her.
Yeah.
Because think about it from a family's perspective, right? If your auntie, your grandmama, your cousin, somebody in your family slip up and do something stupid, we coming for their neck. So my thing is making sure that, of course, we keep her protected, but we also look at it as an accountability. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be a whole lot of pressure.
People too. Sometimes it do be on people.
We talk about this all the time, on camera, off camera, that sometimes it be your own squad that come for you to push you and say, you said you was going to do this. You said you was going to do that. And sometimes those small things is what break families up. Little things.
And especially where we're concerned, because there was a meme circulating regarding her announcing that she was running. There was basically a clip from a Scandal where Olivia Pope's
Not Scandal.
Yes, Olivia Pope's dad was basically telling her that you have to work, as a black woman, you have to work twice as hard to get half of what, your counterparts have. So I just feel like
I
it's
never
very
thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's a very apt quote to apply to this situation, because just I feel like Barack Obama has one of the cleanest presidencies that I've ever seen. Like zero scandals, you know, the
That we
whole
know
nine.
of.
Right.
Hmm.
But let him have like one. He really couldn't. He didn't have an inch. He didn't
I
really
mean,
have
honey,
it
he
to
had a
mess up.
black wife. Like, really?
No, I mean they really didn't have it to mess up. They had to be like, you know, pitch
Picture perfect.
perfect,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
entire time.
Speaking of memes, I'm just gonna throw this one out there. One that made me laugh last week was actually it was this morning. I was getting dressed. Not that I should have been on social media, but I was getting dressed and I was on social media and it showed this girl getting her weave in and it
Oh yes,
said, "You
I did.
seen it?"
I seen a similar one, but this one was actually a
A
guy.
guy. It was a guy. It was a guy. So I'm gonna look at it from a perspective
Yes.
of we don't
You
know
already
what.
know Black Twitter don't we don't take nothing serious.
Man, when I tell you, we about to be bringing hot combs, warm combs, and flat irons
Lord.
back just because this woman has set the precedent. I have never seen her hair out of character.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
have
You already
never
know.
seen her edges not laid. I have never seen her looking sloppy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I also hope that in this season she's able to set the threshold, but there's is grace and enough room for her to authentic. You know what I'm trying to
Yes.
say? Be herself.
Authentically be yes.
To be herself.
Hmm.
Not that she got to be in there patting weaves and snatching words or snatching up people, but to not lose sense of identity. And I think that's the most important part. So even if you guys are not really voting and doing things like that, it's the accountability. We need to
Y'all
vote,
need
but
to
it's
vote.
also the accountability that circles back to being authentically yourself,
Right.
and being very unapologetic about your dopeness. This is a woman who is a probably top of her class graduate, um, graduated from a beautiful university, but also took the time to really further her education.
Yes, and she has a very impressive political resume.
Oh yes, she does. Yeah.
In general, so I do feel very confident about her chances. We have
I mean, like
another.
they said, she raised 90 in like a day.
Yeah, and there's another
We still
debate
doing
coming
fish
up.
fries and car washes at the church just to get the building fund.
Good Lord.
Hey, wow.
And I mean, admittedly, it was looking very dire for the Democratic. That people just didn't have a lot of faith in Biden.
Mm-hmm.
So it was looking a little touch and go there. So this is actually a turn of events that has made me more optimistic.
I also feel too that even if people don't really believe in her, right? I feel like anything not to vote for this other party, people would do. So it's very persuasive.
That was the
Mhm.
road that it was going. I feel like that was very much the message that was being pushed along, is that we're not necessarily voting for a person this time around. We're just voting for democracy. We're voting to continue democracy
Mm-hmm.
because someone is seeking to end it,
So
oddly
I'm gonna
enough.
look at it like this: in a hypothetical, right? It's October 1st. What do you think? And she wins, right?
Mhm.
Hypothetically, what do you think it's gonna look like? In your personal takeaway point of view, what do you think it's going to look like?
Like her first few
Just
days in
just
office.
everything, the world, everything, black women in general, women of color, even down to our Caucasian brothers who are married to women of color. Like, what do you think that's going to look like?
Well, I know when Barack got elected, I was crying. I was
Okay, yeah, I think the world was crying. Yeah.
I was at the house with it was my mom, my sister, my brother, my aunts, my cousins. We were all watching live and just crying, girl, just crying. So
But low key, I think that's because everyone, that was such a turn of event, that was such a change in our world, a change in everything, because I remember reading From Sea to Shining Sea. You're too young, but those are some of the history books, and all you would
I
see.
had From Sea to Shining Sea.
You did?
Yeah, it was like a blue textbook.
Two snaps for seas.
Well, I don't know why you be trying to play millennials like that.
My bad. My bad. I also just remember seeing the same genre of individuals. And I also remember the presidency being something that was so, like, just respected, Whereas over the last, I guess, few years, it's been almost something that's been taken as a joke.
I think that has a lot to do with just lack of, I don't know, I think lack of empathy on the, I guess, the American people's part.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can't please everybody. We are a nation of millions, and unfortunately, you really just can't please everybody. I definitely was not pleased when Donald Trump was in office, so it's like
I think I was
that's a
shocked
moment in
because
time when
I remember watching his show.
I never in a million years thought that man was going to be nominated for real.
I really thought we was living in a reality show.
It did feel
it felt like one.
like living in a fever dream, low key. But I mean, it is what it is. We lived it. We survived it. And yeah, we'll just keep on keeping on. But
give us a takeaway.
My takeaway is
you still shocked?
No, I'm not shocked. But we not spinning that block. So if you are not registered to vote already, get your butt up and make it happen, Captain, because this is not a drill.
Oh. I like that. My takeaway for our viewers, to our subscribers, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Tell this to people that, hey, Mind Control MC Mondays is going live. Some things that we've been pilot testing. Now. We've been pilot testing, and we have big plans for the next few months, some things that we're going to be trying differently. One of my takeaways will be just take time just to relax your brain. Try not to get into online or family political debates. Try your darnest not to consume yourself with this, because although as important as it is, by all means, it's still not everything.
Right.
Still make time for your family. Still make time to go out. If you find yourself engaging in these political discussions, be them online or in person, find something else to put your focus on. And then just make sure you just don't get caught up in it. But whatever you do, like my counterpart said, run and go register to vote. I think you could even do it online.
Yeah, you could do it online. I'm probably going to vote by mail this year. I'm not trying to deal with any potential shenanigans in my neighborhood. So.
I always say that every year I'm going to do it by mail, but I just be feeling like, what if somebody steals it? I know, I'm old-fashioned. So I go stand in the line so I can get my sticker. And
so but they mail you, if you do the vote by mail, they give you a sticker in the mail.
Nope.
You like it ain't
Amazon. Nope. I want mine to be fresh off the little pad. Again, shout out to our teammate who was out in them streets with his bestie.
Out in the street with the bestie. They look like
they're
having a time.
What, you saw it online?
I watched this story.
Y'all, after this go off, I'm about to be all up in Caleb's business. Again, I am your captain, Coach Nita, a.k.a. I don't have an a.k.a. Just Coach Nita. Tell people who you are.
I'm Nisha Mishley, signing off. We'll see y'all not next Monday, but the Monday after.
Like, share, subscribe. Thank you, guys. I'll see y'all.